Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and today we're coming back to you with another Hall Effect keyboard, and this time we have to thank ATK Gear. ATK actually sent me out the Hex80. Now, I really wanted to try out this board. It's been a while since it's been out, for sure, but it became one of the really popular boards of 2025 for Hall Effect keyboards. Does it still stand up today in 2026? And see how does it sound, how does it feel, and even try it within gaming. So let's go straight into the unboxing, but please make sure to like and subscribe. Now introducing the Hex80 from ATK Gear and QK, so QWERTY Keys. Now if you guys didn't know, QWERTY Keys is the brand that also makes Neo boards, and right there I just wanted to make sure I got a really nice unboxing for you guys, so I just closed it up and opened it up again. Now it's really cool. The packaging on this thing actually feels quite premium and very nice. So you get a really nice box, and then you also get a very nice carrying case. And inside the carrying case, you get a shortcut manual, so it helps you with the shortcuts and function keys. You also get inside a plastic bag, a really nice cable, which is actually braided, and you also get extra switches. This is really nice to see because I think whatever board you get, they should really provide extra switches just in case something goes wrong. You even get a switch puller, keycap puller, and you even get this multi-tool, which is a switch puller and keycap puller put in there. And it's actually a very decent quality one, which I've tried with the Sonic. Now, going into the actual board itself, honestly this already feels quite premium based in terms of everything that you're receiving with this board. I think they did a great job, and I can see why this is a really nice collaboration with ATK Gear and really thinking about it, QWERTY Keys. Now opening it up and seeing here, so you get a plastic wrapped keyboard, so it's just fully protected. We have to take it apart. I actually got the pink version, as you can see here. So this is something that actually, if you join my Discord channel, I actually was talking about this, and a lot of the people there actually mentioned that I should get the pink version. So I had to go with what everyone wanted, so I got the pink. Overall, the build quality is quite nice. This thing is spray coated. I can already feel it around, but I can feel that this is a higher quality board compared to a lot of the different Hall Effect boards that I've actually tried. It does feel a little bit light, but let's weigh it before we go into a sound test, and this thing weighs a total of 1.7 kilos. So obviously it did have a little bit more of like a collector sound profile. Now one thing you'll notice is this thing is a carbon fiber plate. So it has a carbon fiber plate and it's non-flex cut. That already there is something that I really enjoy. And in general, Hall Effect boards usually don't have flex cuts because you don't really want it flexing around in terms of the accuracy for the Hall Effect triggers. Now, this has interesting screw-based system. So you have to remove all the keys, of course, to get into the screws, but it's hidden screws. And I was kind of surprised with that. Now, sorry, my hair was blocking the way for a moment, but to get out the cable there, I actually had to get it in the way. And one thing I really noticed with this was the hidden screws is actually kind of cool and makes the board look a little bit more cleaner, but it's going to be a big hassle later when I'm putting this back in. So I'm kind of curious why they went with that method. Now, overall, we're going to see here that the board itself is gasket mounted for one thing, and you actually get very decent premium foams. So the foams are very thin, but it does feel like it's a bit of a higher quality foam. The lubing is decent, and it is going to be plate mounted stabilizers. I kind of wish they went with the PCB mount, so screw in or a clip-in stabilizer. Now the PCB in the plates, you can see the plate measures at 1.6 millimeters and the PCB at 1.6 as well. This is going to be a non-flex cut for both the plate and the PCB. Now going right into the modification. So we're going to do 2-layer tape mod just to see how this is. And then we're going to put everything back together to see how it sounds. I'm also going to help with the stabilizers in terms of the spacebar. Now, as you can see here, I'm putting it all back in. It actually took me a long time to get the screws in. It's actually quite troublesome. So this is a quite big con of this board, is that putting it apart and then putting it back in is quite difficult. It actually took me about 15 minutes just trying to get everything working. Now, we did add some extra lube into the spacebar, and hopefully it'll help a little bit, but let's hear it. Now, the next thing I want to do is show you guys the typing angle. So the back is going to measure at 34.4 millimeters and the front at 19.1, which should be about a 6.2 degree typing angle. So just for you guys to know, that's the kind of angle you're looking at. Now the next thing I want to do is give you guys a decibel test, because the sound test obviously is not going to really make it justice. So giving you this decibel test should give you guys an idea of how loud this board can be. And this board isn't going to be on the quiet side. It's actually quite loud. You're actually averaging around 68 to about 69 decibels, which is going to be like a vacuum cleaner to hairdryer level in terms of decibels. Now the PC keycaps I think is a con for me. I'm not a big fan of how they sound, but for those who like backlighting, they're going to enjoy this. Now this is spray coated, so this version specifically, but they do have an anodized version, and the back you can see is clean, but the USB-C port is on the far left, which might be uncomfortable. That screwdriver port is very, very uncomfortable, but the backlighting of this board is quite bright, and they even give you buttons here where you can actually change the lighting yourselves very easily through just pressing them. Now going right into the website. So the pricing of this board is going to be 249 USD. So there is a total of 5 different colors. You have the gray, the gold, the purple, the pink, and the white. Now, the pink and the white are going to be spray coated. The gray, the gold, and the purple are going to be anodized. I think the anodized versions look a little bit nicer in terms of the photos, but the pink wasn't too bad. The spray coating wasn't horrible on this one, because I know a lot of times I worry about spray coating with the fact that it could possibly chip over time, but it wasn't too bad on this specific board. I think they did a very nice job with the spray coating. Now this is a collaboration board with ATK Gear and QK QWERTY keys, and overall this board is supposed to have an AI matching system that's in the software, which is going to be interesting. It is with the OWLabs tie switch. It has a 32K scan rate, and it is 8K polling rate. Now, I don't know if it is true 8K. We'll test that a little bit later. Overall, the OWLabs tie switch, I think, is one of the nicer HE switches. It's not one of the best ones out there, but I think for clacky wise, it is definitely a good one. Overall, build quality wise, they did a great job with this build, and they really did a nice job with the packaging. It really provides you a lot of different stuff that you can try. But let's go check out the software. So there's going to be a page on their website which says Attack Hub. You just have to go in there and you can get to the software. So there's a web app and there's a downloadable one. I personally like using the web app because I don't really like downloading things off the computer. I already have too many things that gets downloaded. Now you can see here it loaded up pretty quick. The software here, as you can see, it does have the different profiles that you can choose from, which is quite nice to see. As I mentioned many times in different holophonic keyboard reviews, profiles is a mandatory must. Now, it starts with the lighting settings, so that's the first thing you can choose from. And they do have a custom one, meaning you can choose individual colors, which is really nice. I think this is something that every holophonic board should do as well, because it's something that makes it a little bit more customizable for yourself. Now, in terms of the trigger settings, very easy to do. You can see it here, very simple. It provides all the actuations there exactly. And this actually goes to 0.005. which is very low in terms of the ability to choose what kind of actuation you want to do. And a lot of times, like Wooting, for example, can do 0.1, and there's some boards out there that can do 0.05 or 0.01, but this one really goes even further than that. Now, you can do remapping, so you have the remapping choices here, and you can actually set it with the Windows or the Mac. And if you go into Windows, the function side, you can actually see that you can set up the profiles keys, so you can actually set it with function and whatever key you like to be able to change the different profiles. I did have one issue with this profile setting though, so I was trying to use the function shortcut to change the profiles and it wasn't working, so I'm not too sure why it wasn't working for my specific board. I hope they actually look into the software and make sure that there's a fix for this, because it was something that I was having issues with in terms of my own personal board, and I'm using it, so I have to tell you guys, right? I want to tell you guys the truth. I actually had some troubles and it wasn't working for me. So that is going to be a downside in terms of this, and hopefully there is a fix in the future. Now let's go straight into taking a deep dive into all the other settings that they have. So you can see here, I do have the trigger settings. This is going to be my profile with the Apex Legends that I usually set it at. So you can see here, very easy to set it and have it the way I want it to be. So I set it up specifically to have a little bit lower actuation to do quick movements. And you can even see here that it does have the advanced settings, so SOCD, which is very nice. And you can even go in and set up other different advanced keys. So they do have all these really nice different settings that you can do that really takes advantage of the Hall effect. They also have calibration. They even have macros. You can also go into the performance setting and change the different modes. So you can have the Mac mode, you can, turn off a Windows key. You have all these different settings here, and you can even have a sleep timer, which I'm kind of surprised there is a sleep timer in the first place, because this is a wired board and not a wireless board. But you can see here as well, if you go into the configuration, you can actually change the different profiles here and make sure it's saved on board, and you can even copy it to a new board if, say, someone wanted to use your settings. So definitely to see here. I was curious to see how the firmware update could work here, so I went in just to see how the firmware updates and to see where I could download it from, but I was having issues finding the Hex80 here. So it says I need to update, but then I'm not able to find the Hex80 here, and I did a search. So that's something that I'm actually really curious about, that hopefully ATK Gear can really look into and make sure that is very simple for everyone, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're getting a board that has a ton of support, ton of updates, software updates, and more, just so you can really easily get things going. Now, of course, we're going to have to test out Keyboard Inspector and see the polling rate. So overall, it's supposed to have a 32K scan rate and 8K polling rate, and that means most likely when I do this Keyboard Inspector test, it's going to actually come up with really, really high numbers. True 8K though will always stay at 8K. So that's something I've noticed with Wooting, where if you actually have 8K board, it should be showing up 8K. I actually looked into software to see if I could change it to 1K. So this is something I would also like to mention to ATK Gear, is please update it so that there can be 1K change and be true to it. Now, in terms of Apex Legends and testing it out, you can see here I'm actually doing not a problem with super gliding and using the keyboard. I've actually used it a lot to play video games. I actually found myself using the Hex80 quite a bit lately in terms of just playing games and just using it on my desk. One of the reasons why, because I felt that the switches, the outlet ties, were actually pretty good to use. Though I would say I still prefer mechanical switches over Hall effect switches, but that's currently something that's in the works for myself, and hopefully we'll see better switches come out. Now, you can see here I use a gold bolt on a shotgun because it does the auto reload if I pull off a super glide, and you can see here that I was actually doing it. Now, one of the benefits of Hall effect is going to be quickly picking up items, so that's going to be a little bit of an advantage that you get in game. And another one is, you can see that was like the recoil where I didn't control and it went up. This game also, if you move, it has a little bit of that recoil control and recoil softening. But when you actually have a Hall effect keyboard, you can spam AD and it actually kind of works as similar. Now let's go into Valorant to see how it works. So one of the things is that there's snappy tap, or rappy snappy, snap tap, and this is where you will see the differences. So here I'm not using anything, and you can see here, like when I'm pressing A and then I press D, I stop completely. So I'm doing a full-on braking in terms of the game. Now when I turn on snap tap, so I see here there's a little bit of pause and then I go back in, you can see that now there's zero pause, zero braking. So this is one of the benefits that Snapshot does in like games like Valorant, where it allows you to do better strafing because you don't have to worry about the breaking period and just stop, and you don't have to actually go with the reaction time of your fingers. So it's not too bad, but it is definitely hard and you will have to practice it. It's not going to be just a guaranteed you're good to go. Now, as you can see here, going to the spreadsheet. So this spreadsheet is available on my Discord. You can actually join my Discord, links will be in the description, and you can get access to these documents. Now this is a TKL. So I didn't actually have other TKLs that I've tried. I had 75% and had 80%, but not exact TKLs. So when we go and compare it with specifically the Wu-Ting 80HE, so there is two different pricings, right? $199, $200 is for the plastic case. Then you have $289 for the zinc case. So now you're actually going to a much higher price. And yes, it does have true polling, which is nice. It does have a lot of customizable cases available as well, which is also a big plus, but you are spending $40 more compared to the Hex80. Now the Hex80 $249, I think it's actually quite a decent pricing with what you're getting with this. You get a carrying case, you get pretty much all these different things, which is really cool. And I think overall, holophonic boards in general lately are priced a lot higher lately with the so-called using aluminum cases, higher quality cases. So whereas the Hex80 stands even in 2026 is actually a decent spot. I would say it's still a little bit expensive. I would love to see it a little bit lower, but $200 I would think would have been perfect for this board, and I would say that it would be killer out there. Now, there's a few things that I think. The sound-wise, it does have a very decent sound. It's got a nice clacky to it. I'm really appreciating of the clacky, especially because I like clacky mechanical keyboards, and I think it's going to be a little bit more solid compared to, say, other holophonic switches out there, or other holophonic gaming keyboards even out there, and the top out isn't too bad, especially comparing it with like many other holophonic gaming keyboards out there. The web app itself is decent. I really do think they need to fix that profile setting thing because it wasn't working properly, but if that was fixed, it would be a very, very well done software where I think you can easily use it, and even a beginner should be able to easily use that software to make changes that they need to. One of the things, the build quality is actually really good. It really reminds me of other like QWERTY keys or Neo keyboards, and that's something I really love to see because I actually loved the Sonics because it was using a Neo 65 case. So that's something that's really great. The software rating is going to be 8.5 out of 10, and that's only because it didn't have the profiles working properly. If that was working, I would give it a 9 out of 10. It was actually very simple to use, very intuitive, and very easy to make things that I need to do in the software. So that's why I give it an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. Overall, the typing and sound was quite decent. I think the Owl Labs tie switch is really one of the better holophonic switches out there. Like my top 5 ones are going to be UFO switches, the Keytalk Nova, the Owl Labs tie, Geon Roy HE, and then the UR Ice Ultra. Those are like my top 5s, which is why I'm giving this a little bit of a higher ranking in terms of the sound. Now the typing feel, I think I prefer longer springs in holophonic switches, so that's something that I wish the Owl Labs tie switches had, but that's something I can easily do a spring swap. And those who like Thoki, I know you're going to give this a much lower rating. I completely understand. Overall, the board itself, very well done, and I think if you're looking for TKL, this is something to look at. So I do hope this video helps you guys to see whether or not the Hex80 is the gaming keyboard for you. If you are into a TKL and looking for something a little bit more premium, has a nice feel to it, a nice build quality, and actually a decent sound to it, I think this is a board that you're going to want to look at. I'll have the links in the description for you guys to go check it out for yourselves, but please go check out the other videos I got.